also a manager at the Savant TIA Seed Fund. Let's give a big round of applause as we give him some high energy music as Thabelo comes up. Let's give it up for Thabelo.
Morning, everyone. This intro has actually made me look very experienced and intelligent. Thanks for doing that. Thanks. I'm very excited to be here today. And the conversations that I've been having on the background sort of changed a little bit the focus of what I'll be talking about. I support a lot of stuff that have been mentioned in the previous keynote, as well as the panel. So for me, it's I come from a slightly different angle in terms of what I'm going to deliver here. I'm mostly focused on, maybe because I've had an opportunity to sit on both sides of the table as a founder and as well as on the venture support side of things. So usually my conversations are always coming from a founder perspective. While I do support a lot of things that have been said here, I think there's still a bit of a gap. So I'm not going to say, because I'm not here to support or to promote Savant, I'm not going to say that we are one of the leading deep tech companies or venture capital firms in Africa, because that would be a very big mistake. And I won't say that we're leading investment in that space for obvious reasons. So I think when you look at wicked problems, I thought I need to introduce this concept just so that we understand where this presentation is going to touch on. At Savant, on our first conversations with founders, when we see if we can have meeting of minds, need analysis to support them, we always focusing on the problem rather than the solutions that the guys are working on. So we believe that we work with very technical founders that we believe in their capabilities. We have no doubt that they can design impactful solutions. However, we're looking at whether they do understand the fundamental problem that they are solving. If you look at the African continent, we face a lot of problems that I love to call wicked problems, which is just in terms of its layered problem, interconnected problem. It's good that the previous panel was talking about, there was a lady talking about women entrepreneurship and the gap that is between women entrepreneurs and males. I think for me, that's a very good wicked problem, because you don't know at what point you need to start solving that particular problem. And it's the same with other wicked problems like your youth unemployment. You don't know whether you need to build businesses and support so that they can employ people, or you need to provide food for the guys to make sure that once they go to school, they are fed and their stomachs are full. So it's a wicked problem, yeah. So I wanted people to understand that that's what we try to do with deep tech. And looking by definition, deep tech, it's more of a combination of different technologies. That it can be your IoT, it can be your AI, machine learning, and the guys package that technology, which is usually guys with the science and engineering background, will package that technology. And hardware is mostly the medium to deliver that particular solution. So what I love about the deep tech and hardware tech is because guys are building things that are tangible, things that you can see and feel. And what that means is that you will need people to build those particular solutions. And I think that is the differentiator and why I subscribe a lot to deep tech. So I think that there's a huge potential that deep tech comes with. And this is in terms of, or from a perspective of standing a chance in solving some of these wicked problems that I've mentioned. I think it's important to understand that there are solutions that can come through agriculture. There's a startup that we worked with in the Eastern Cape that was producing a very resilient product for inputs, farming inputs, that will assist with extreme weather conditions. We also have startups in health that we have worked with automation. So for me, it's good because I come from a healthcare background. I'm a radiographer by training. So I think having worked in the emergency department and in different operation rooms for about 13 years, I've seen the growth in technology because as a radiographer, I use a lot of equipment in the hospital. I've seen how we've moved from helping a patient in a life and death situation from using around 45 minutes to an hour, but because of deep tech and hardware technologies, that was reduced to like 15 to 20 minutes. So for me, that's huge improvement, and you see how these deep tech technologies can actually assist. We worked with water and sanitation solutions that we've seen purifying mining water and mining in the outskirts villages, and we've seen the impact in terms of providing not only jobs in those particular areas, but also skills for subsistence farming. And we've seen how those businesses have been actually providing that impact. So maybe talking about Africa, there was, it's good that I spoke with one of the potential LPs for what we're trying to get, for a program that we're trying to design. And what he told me is that, I see that you're going to give a keynote tomorrow. Please don't fall into the trap of explaining statistics from the founder's side of things. I hope I don't step in people's toes. But he told me that mostly he doesn't attend these sessions or summits because you find that mostly it's people that is VC people that are talking to other potential VCs or demonstrating how successful they were in terms of deploying funds. You'll see statistics around how much funds were deployed in certain startups. It's very important statistics in my view, but it's important that we turn the table and we look at those wicked problems and we start talking about companies that come from Africa and how it is that they were successful in actually solving these problems and name drop those companies and actually maybe get 2 or 3 of them coming and standing here and giving this particular keynote. So I think for me that was a very good view which I support, but obviously it remains to be seen for you guys whether you support it. If you look at the youth, I think for me in Africa, youth it's both a challenge and an opportunity. So when I said wicked problems, and on the flip side of the coin, those are actually opportunities that are presented for solutions to be built around that. So if you look at, we've got the world's youngest population in Africa, and that's what tells us that is the future employers, future employees. It means we've got an opportunity to create new skills because these children are born into this technology. My daughter is 4 and already she can operate my phone. Most of us, I don't know the median age here, but yeah, it took some time for you to actually use a handset. So that tells you that they're well positioned with the resource constraint that we see in Africa. They're well positioned to work with these technologies and actually come up with the solutions. And one of the biggest advantage in Africa is that we own the problems. We understand, we know it. It's either we experience it directly or one of our family members actually experiences it. So it's not something that we have read about. And in fact, there's a proverb, and I hope I don't mix my tongue on it because I've been claiming it while I was sitting back there, where it says, until the lion learns how to ride, the story will always glorify the writer or the hunter. So for me, it's exactly that. If we're seeing a slowing down of global investments, and if certain people pull plugs in certain investments and we feel the pain immediately, it tells you that there's a huge problem, although it's a problem for those people not supporting us, but what are we doing in terms of really looking at the core problem and say, while we want to invest in certain groups, it can be gender groups, societal groups, are we really interrogating the problems that we're solving so that we're building things that actually matter? So this brings me to the ecosystem. If you look at the previous speaker on the keynote, he touched on the different ecosystem players, which I support because we do have the skills, the willpower, even the political backing, because we work with a lot of DFIs. You see the money that they put. You see how on government level, how they are relaxing the policies to make sure that they support the de-risking of technologies. But what I've seen, though, is the lack of coordination in terms of what we do. While you expect a DFI to maybe provide risky funds to de-risk these technologies, you find them trying to play incubator and say we provide incubation services. You look at the research councils and universities, which by design will expect them to be the developers of these IPs, right? And they are very good at it, but again, you'll find them wanting to become maybe venture funds or incubators. So for me, everyone is trapped onto this KPI-driven approach because always, and the LP I was talking about, he said something around, we design programs where all the key stakeholders that really putting support get the money and the recipient get a piece of paper in a form of certificate. So that tells you there's a problem, because if you go to those research councils, they've ticked all their boxes. You go to incubators, they've ticked all their boxes, but I think what matters most is the founder, and usually they are the biggest loser, and by extension then it's our continent, and by extension is the struggling economy, the unemployment, and it goes back to that cycle of the wicked problem. So as I've said in the beginning, I really like talking about the founder. I'm a founder myself, so I didn't read about the challenges of becoming a founder. I really know the fears and the sleepless nights of waking up at 12 a.m. But I think we need to define success very differently in terms of what success is, particularly when you talk about deep tech technologies and hardware, because they take slightly longer than other technologies to actually reach the market. So it's important that when it's difficult, I'm yet to see, in fact, ever since I've jumped ship from the healthcare space to the early stage business side of things, to see a startup that actually follow a critical path, where you've got a founder who dreams in the morning, sleeping somewhere, wakes up and design an idea, come to an incubator, help them build an MVP or prototype, MVP, pilot, initial sales, seed fund, Series A, Series B, then unicorn. Very difficult to get those kind of, in most of the books you can get it, but very difficult to get it in the real world. So we need to start seeing these I just call it false positive, right? And they are specific founders that I've worked with where we had to tell them that what they were working on won't work, and they didn't believe me, and we took them to the market and they spoke to the client. And the client loved the solution, but it was not enough for him to actually pay for it. So it was an exciting technology. So you actually find a lot of that. While we'll be saying there was 200 million USD invested in a particular year with a statistic, what we forget to highlight there is that how much of those funds we're actually seeing generating real revenue today. So I think if we can just add that for those who are more capable and skilled at researching, if we can just start looking at that aspect as well. I think second-time founders also in Africa and within South Africa, I don't think we give them enough respect that we should be giving them. We should be seeing them as assets, because they would have traveled the journey. They know they've failed. And for me, if you're a venture fund, you would want to put money on somebody that at the very least has some sort of experience. And I think we should be supporting those kind of startups. So maybe the last message is more of let's build what matters. I've touched on that. So to build us, we know that software and coding is good, but we really need to start building products that are tangible, that somebody can actually employ people to build the product. And we give rise to new supply chains. We give rise to new skills, and it speaks to the skills development, it speaks to employment. Then we can, within those solution-driven approach, we can then start integrating the transformation that we talk about. So once we know the problem, then we can actually start looking at, do we have enough female people actually producing those impactful solutions? For me, the answer, because I support it, I think it's yes. More often than not is that we're not looking at the right places, and we're not asking the right questions. To the investors, I think we actually need a very patient kind of an approach in terms of funding. Need to understand that deep tech technologies take longer. I've been in situations where investors, and particularly DFIs to a certain extent, will provide you with a certain amount of money for support of early stage businesses. And they will, at the same time, they will give you KPIs and say you need to create 25 jobs in the next 12 months. And you're taking a company from ideation to market access. So some of these things are funny, but it's just a matter of educating each other in terms of those challenges that you actually see. While KPIs are very important, we need to ensure that we are driven with the realities that we see. So Africa's wicked problems won't be solved by imported solutions. I was just trying to drive the idea that we own the problems. I won't say let's own the problem. We own them, we experience them. Let's own the solutions and make sure that we can develop those solutions. And our future won't be downloaded online. It will be engineered. And let's design it together. Thank you.